Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Thanks for coming in the chat, those of you who are early. JSC, you'll be listening as busy at the moment. What are you up to? You at work still? Hi, Carol. Hi, Mina. Thank you so much, the mod squad, as always. Hey, Trinette. Hey, Palena. Hey, Nobody. Hey, Miss Levy. Right, I've just seen something on the timeline. I am not confirming this because I don't even know if this is true. I'm story pending. Somebody posted the Duke of Sussex attended the funeral service for his late uncle, Lord Robert Fellows, held in Norfolk yesterday. Lord Fellows was married to Princess Diana's sister, Lady Jane Fellows, who was pictured with her nephew in June. According to locals who were seen at the funeral, looks like a dash. Like I just said, I don't know how true this is. I'm still looking into this. Could be fake news because I haven't seen anything else confirming this. But if I get any updates and that is true, I will let you know. All right. Let's get on to today's updates. We've got two new covers of Harry and Meghan, by the way. One US Weekly and one Hello Canada. If you lot were in Petal's live earlier on today, we were actually having a chat. I hopped onto her live, and some people have been saying, has the coverage of Harry and Meghan become a little bit more positive? And I was saying, yes, it has to a certain extent, but I think in the UK, the positive coverage is still being met by sarcasm, and by no means does any of this mean that the UK press can be trusted. They can never be trusted. I think the positivity is coming a little bit more from international press, actually. So we have this from US Weekly and also from Hello Canada, although, Canada press there have always been relatively positive with Harry and Meghan, obviously, because Meghan spent a lot of time there. All right. In funny news, this came up on the South Yorkshire Police Instagram feed. South Yorkshire Police are asking you to rat on your neighbour. They posted, do you know someone who lives a lavish lifestyle but doesn't have a job? Your intelligence is vital in helping us put those who think that they are untouchable before the courts. Raising the voice of economic crime. Does anybody know anybody who lives a lavish lifestyle but doesn't have a job? Anybody at all? Is there anyone in the United Kingdom who lives a lavish lifestyle but doesn't have a job? I mean, like, the audacity to put out a tweet like this. And they're not going for people in very elite positions, the super rich. They're going for the little guy. The guy that, maybe had a little bit of cash on the side, but was still claiming benefits. Mind you, that person probably can't even keep up with the cost of living anyway. Like, that's who they're going for. Because there's more little guys struggling so they can get a hold of, and they'll make more getting a hold of a million little guys and not one or two big guys. And again, I'm not saying that fraud is acceptable in any ways, but we know that these, this type of thing doesn't usually target the people at the top, who it should be a little bit more focused on, if you ask me. Let's see who's... T Jones, new member. Thank you so much for joining membership. Welcome to the club. By the way, if you would like to become a member, I can do it through YouTube, but you can also do it through Buy Me a Coffee. So anybody want to join membership, I do encourage you to join through Buy Me a Coffee. But thank you so much, TT Jones. Much, much appreciated. TT Jones, how long have you been a listener for? I'd love to know. When did you join the Sussex Squad space, and when did you start listening to our podcast? Please do let me know. Happy to have you here. Yes, dear, the royals and work don't mix. Unless you count shaking your behind at the Taylor Swift concert as work. Yes, Mina, it was basically stuff that we all know and from sources. Yes, that was basically actually what was in the article. Like, it was absolutely nothing new in there. But I can bet now some publications are trying to be all nicey, because I think Nigeria was the last time the toxic tabloid press were able to even get an inch. They were still able to get a small inch in Nigeria. But in Colombia, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Flew all the way across the globe for nothing, to get nothing, to be pushed back. Okay. Let's get on to the next thing. Oh yes, the game changers. This was the Game Changers Forces for Change. This was the incredible Vogue edition that Meghan did with Edward Enninful, who was the then British editor of Vogue. I believe he has now left. And they featured all of these amazing women. And to mark the anniversary, they've invited the women who are on the cover for 2019 to nominate champions for 2024 and beyond. So, they're doing a new version of this. Nothing to say that Meghan is involved, but great to see them doing it again. I'm sure it'll be very successful, but part of the success last time was Meghan's involvement, and I believe it was like the fastest selling Vogue edition in like a decade or something like that. Fastest and highest selling. Sadly, I didn't get a copy. Could probably buy one online. I'd love one, actually. But an incredible magazine feature, and all of the women that were, chosen for this. There was so much ridiculous criticism of this. The likes of Camilla the Liar Tominey, writing articles that, Meghan didn't choose enough women of color. Meghan mostly only chose women of color. Because goodness forbid we have more visibility in media. That's just too much for Camilla Tominey. Camilla Tominey, also the one that tried to link Meghan's Together cookbook to terrorists, the same Together cookbook that has raised over $1 million since its release and is still doing very well for charities. So, it doesn't matter how much they try to come after Harry and Meghan's amazing work, it still leaves a lasting effect and legacy afterwards. Because this was 2019, and now they're looking at doing it again. And I think that was a very smart idea to have the women who were featured back then pick the new cohort. I'm sure that would be a great feature. Also, new details about Meghan's investment portfolio. I always said there was likely more companies than Clevr Blends, but now we have a little bit more of an idea of what else Meghan might have in her creative portfolio. Investor portfolio. And perhaps the brands that she wears often is a good clue as to where she is putting her investment money. So there was this article that came out, Meghan Markle is a dolphin, not a shark. At least when it comes to investing, the latest addition to her portfolio, the handbag, Sister Collective. And we've seen her wearing this many, many times. I loved the round bag that has kind of like the netting at the bottom, the white at the top. And these are like handmade bags and also hats. Many things have changed since Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, moved to London, from London to California. The couple has blown up the myth of Windsor unity, had a second child, blah, 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 blah. Through it all, however, apparently Meghan's ability to move merchandise has remained notably high. So much so that in 2020, she decided to start putting her money where her taste was and began investing in a small portfolio of female-run companies. The latest is the Collective, which specializes in basket bags that are handwoven by a collective of women in Rwanda and finished in Italy. Meghan originally discovered the brand while online shopping. I spent a lot of time just Googling, looking for brands, Meghan said last week on a call from her home in Santa Monica just after she and Harry returned from a tour in Colombia. When people are online looking for things or reading things, I'm trying to find great new designers, especially in different territories. And I think this is amazing. Highlighting designers and creatives that wouldn't usually get a lot of attention, but are still making fabulous designs. And there's actually been quite a lot of controversy more recently with the bigger designers, like Chanel and Dior. Like the quality is actually going down at a lot of these bigger fashion houses. So to see Meghan supporting, handcrafted goods that give back to the community, I believe this particular brand, because it's made, by women in Rwanda, they make sure that the women who actually make the bags get a fair pay, and they are quite pricey as well. So I think they do cut them a pretty fair check for their work. And just having something that is so beautiful and handcrafted, I think is so much more special than having something just because it's a designer item. And we've also seen examples of, Meghan buying things from Etsy stores. She obviously, loves very women-centered brands, especially if they give back in some way. So we know that Sister Collective and also Clevr Blends is in her investment portfolio. Funnily enough, actually, who was it? Oh, yes, I have the slide here. Miley Cyrus. Miley Cyrus loves Clevr Blends too, apparently. Clevr Blends reposted this. So I still have not tried Clevr Blends. I need to. But I believe they're shipping to the UK, or they had been for some time. So I will get around to it. But everybody I've spoken to who tried it, so that they absolutely love it, especially the turmeric. So that's that. Right, on to other on-roll news. So Rebecca English posted this on her Twitter. Re-speculation regarding whether Prince William and Prince Harry will be in New York at the same time next month. The Prince of Wales isn't going to the Earthshot Prize event and had never planned to. I was told this back in July when the event was announced. For what it's worth, Prince William went last year, but not the year before. It really depends on his diary and commitments from year to year. Well, I think it also shows that he just can't be consistent with commitments. And only when it suits him and his image. Like, for example, when Tom Cruise is going to show up. And it's interesting that Rebecca English specifically was told this. Rebecca English is, of course, a royal rota rat. Now, what's interesting was somebody posted, riddle me this, Batman. If the Daily Mail's royal editor, Rebecca English, has known since July that Prince William is not going to New York next month, why didn't she tell her colleague, Lillian Gisson, the US senior female reporter, who wrote yesterday that he is expected there? So this was the article, 27th of August. Royal reunion in New York. Prince Harry set for Pac Manhattan trip at same time Prince William is expected to host the Earthshot Summit. And honestly, like, it should not even matter whether or not Harry and William are in the same place, what they're doing. If you're interested in what Harry's doing, you're going to be watching what Harry's doing. If you're interested in what William's doing, you're going to be watching what William is doing. But really, how many people were all that interested in what William was doing? I mean, dude got all dressed up in his what shall we call this contraption? What William is wearing, Balenciaga will put that on the catwalk and call it fashion and charge you $800 just for the jacket. I'm gonna call it Oysterman collector sheet. And as I always say, it never had to be a competition, but I feel like the Wealth camp turned it into a one-sided competition where they're competing with our faves because of their bitterness, because of their envy. So this was in Celeb Bitchy. Prince Harry's office announced on Tuesday that Harry will travel solo to New York in September for the UN Climate Week. He has a busy agenda with multiple patronages, charities, and foundations. It's not going to be like his brother's trip to New York last year, which was Prince William's attempt to copy Keane, Harry's previous trips to the city. William's reason for being in New York last year was he made Michael Bloomberg throw together an Earthshot event in which they sat in a hotel conference room for a photo op. Then William tried to barge his way into the United Nations. He only got a kettle call photo op. Many wondered if William would pull the same thing this year and whether the brothers would be in New York at the same time. There is mixed reporting. First, the Daily Fail leaves it dangling, saying his brother may also be in the same city at the same time. So that was like Lillian Woman's article. And then Kaiser ends by saying, I actually wondered if William and his office would keep the speculation going and keep everyone in limbo about whether he would show up. I mean, wouldn't a global statesman show up to his own Keenshot environmental event? Wouldn't a global statesman try to barge his way into the UN for the second year in a row? Wouldn't the heir want to remind the spare who the big dog is? Unfortunately, William is no big dog, nor is he a global statesman. After the Mail left it in limbo, it looks like William's office quietly confirmed to a few people that the global statesman will skip New York this year. And just as well, because look at what happened last time. William's camp tried to organize an event with the mayor, and then 30 minutes later cancelled. Representatives for Adam did not immediately respond to a request for comment about why Adam's appearance and Prince William was so quickly scheduled and then cancelled. Maybe it's no great loss. If we had to pick one royal to enjoy Adam's to watch Adam's pal around it with, it would be Prince Harry. You know, William's had so long to create some kind of legacy for himself. He knows he's going to be king one day. And I do think William at least will be king. Whether or not George will is still left to be seen. Don't know what the United Kingdom would have done by that point. But William, for sure, at some point will be king. And knowing this, he hasn't really done enough to be able to hold people's attention, to be able to hold that status that he wants so badly of, you know, global statesman. And I think the imposter syndrome is starting to seep in. Because, and again, I don't think, it's not that Harry is competing here, but truth be told, Harry, even as the spare, the so-called spare, has really put in the work. And the irony is that I feel like because they relegated Harry to spare, that's probably what made Harry work harder. So we are now at the 4th anniversary of Archwell, the 5th anniversary of Travel List, which is the environmental charity that Harry heads, the 10th anniversary of We Are Invictus, the 18th anniversary of Centre Ballet, and Harry has done all this by his 40th birthday. Harry really and truly can look back with pride on the legacy that he's building, only at 40. You know, imagine what else could come in the next decade. It's going to be a very interesting decade for two very interesting people that Harry and Meghan are. Mind you, William's charity came under fire last time he was in New York because half of its investments in a fund advertised as green that owns shares in large food companies that buy palm oil from companies linked to deforestation. The earth is at a tipping point and we face a stark choice. The Prince, a well-known environmentalist, is quoted saying on the websites of the Earthshot Prize and Royal Foundation. Yet in 2021, the charity kept more than £1.1 million with JP Morgan Chase, according to the most recent filings, and still invests with the corporation today. The foundation also held £1.7 million to a fund run by British firm Cazenove Capital Management, according to the 2021 filings. And Cazenove, which in May had securities linked to deforestation through their use of palm oil. The foundation invested similar amounts in both funds in 2020. Well, there you go. No consistency. Just let's take the money from wherever it comes from. No consistency and no accountability either. Anywho, I think that's all I have to say for today. I will go through your comments if you've left any. Thank you as always, everyone, for coming. Please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe button on your way out. If you haven't, please also pray for me. I'm literally doing like the finishing touches on my book, and this is always actually the hardest part for me as a writer, because this is where my inner perfectionist comes out, and I'm battling not to let that obsession with perfection stop my progress. And the last part of completing a book is often the most like stressful for me, because also once you actually have to make sure that it's as perfect as possible, because once you've sent it off to the formatter, if you realize that there was any mistakes, you got to pay that formatter again. So that's partly where the obsession with perfection comes from. Anywho, enough of my writer ramblings. Cinderella, you said Willie is clueless, or his aides and advisors are clueless. Both. It is most definitely both. It is most definitely both. Unfortunately, not that I'm making excuses for William, but the institution coddled him. And when he got into his manhood, he refused to do any amount of self-reflection in the way that Harry did. But I also think that part of Harry doing that self-reflection and becoming the man that he is now is also being more open and willing to deal with his trauma. Something I don't think William has actually ever fully processed. Mandy said, I think William thought being king one day would be enough to make him a statesman, not so much. Exactly. The crown itself, wearing the crown, is not enough. It's the person wearing the crown. Julia, you said it will be interesting to see how old Charlotte will be before she's flipped under the bus, unless Louis will be sacrificed. I mean, they're already, centering Louis. If you look at the narrative around Louis, the last couple of times that he's been in public, they're already kind of centering him in the same narratives that they used to center Harry in. And he's still only a child. Now, one would hope that these tabloids see sense before these children hit their teen years, but given how thirsty they are for money, for readers, unfortunately, I don't see that the tabloids would have changed by the time they reach their teen years. I think you're going to see the same cycle of abuse, and you're already seeing signs of it now. The way they talk about these children, it's very adultified. Even the way you see that the children are treated within the institution, it's very adultified. George, always in a suit, even at a football match. I mean, he's a kid. Let him be a kid. They should all just be allowed to be children. There should be no children who are working royals or put in front of the cameras so that we can appease the royal rotaracts. They're just kids. They should be left alone to be kids. But do I think the British press is going to have any restraint? No. They definitely didn't have it with the Sussex children. And they don't, now that they don't have access to the Sussex children to use as a shield, that leaves the Cambridge children open to abuse. Because these tabloids, no morals whatsoever. You will never hear me talking about these children unless it's about how the press or the institution treats these children. Yes, Ethan, Harry upped the game and won the prize. That exactly. All right, folks, I'm going to leave it there. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you as always for coming. I will see you tomorrow. It's Friday. Tomorrow's Friday. Yay. Ciao.